reactor already under action. Now, we are talking about a new one called prototype fast breeder reactor in Kalpakam. It is a 500 megawatt reactor, and the fuel we are using from the the pressurized heavy water reactors. Okay, fuel from the spent fuel of pressurized heavy water reactors, that is uranium plutonium carbide. Uranium plutonium carbide, as I mentioned, plutonium carbide 70%, uranium carbide 30%. That is the ratio, that is the fuel, uranium plutonium carbide, plutonium 70%, uranium 30%. And since the fast breeder reactor, no moderator used, but the coolant is sodium or liquid sodium. Sodium liquid is the coolant. IGCAR is developing in 2004. The then Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh conducted the stone laying ceremony, or rather 2004 Dr. Manmohan Singh foundation stone. The project was supposed to be commissioned in 2012. The project was supposed to be commissioned in 2012, but many delays, multiple problems. Now, some are saying that by December 2022, it may be. We are supposed to do it in 2012. Now, after 10 years delay, massive delay, So, repeatedly our scientists and our politicians are saying, the ministers are saying that we are in the final stage of commissioning, it will take some time, but kab hoga pata nahi. So, multiple technical issues and challenges, it is because the first one we are developing. So, naturally lot of confusion is there. So, including electromagnetic pumps, the problems in why are we delaying or why this delay, because of problems in electromagnetic pumps. Then in fueling machinery, also in the secondary sodium pumps, sodium cooled. In secondary sodium pumps, all problems. So, because of which the prototype fast breeder reactor, which is under construction for the last almost 16 years, maybe 18 years we can say, it is still continuing, no end in sight. We may commission by next year, we do not know, that is what everybody is hoping. Let us hope that scientists will be able. So, it is a very complex technology, not many countries in the world have done it. So, fast breeder reactors are normally not used in the world. See, idea here is, and again in this fast breeder reactor what are we doing? We will keep some thorium, and the thorium will be converted into uranium 233 or uranium thorium oxide and carbide. Okay, that is what we are trying. So, not many countries in the world have done this. The only exception could be France, because please do not forget France has electricity almost 70%, 2/3 of the electricity produced in France are from nuclear reactors. Two-thirds of the electricity requirement of France is from nuclear reactor, and France has fast breeder reactors, and those reactors are going to Rhapsody reactors. So, their French name Rhapsody reactors, fast breeder reactors. So, we are also developing in the French model, but still it is a complex procedure, not many examples to talk about. India could be one of the few countries in the world who are developing. Why? Because we have plenty of thorium. The only reason we have plenty of thorium. And very little uranium in India. Okay. We have lot of thorium and very little uranium, that is why we are developing this fast breeder reactors. So, we will be one of the few. Then we have another reactor called light water reactor. This is located at Kudamkulam, Kanyakumari, Tamil Nadu. Kudamkulam, with the help of Russia, it is a Russian design. Instead of heavy water, we are using light water as the coolant, normal water coolant. Low enriched uranium or slightly enriched uranium as the fuel. It is fully under IAEA safeguards. Russia supplies the fuel, Russia even takes back the spent fuel. Russia supplies the fuel and Russia also takes back the spent fuel. And these reactors are 1000 megawatt capacity each. 1000 megawatt capacity each. Low enriched uranium or slightly enriched uranium as fuel, light water as the coolant. So, we do not have this technology. We are the Russia agreed to construct under the full safeguards after 1990. So, around 2000 we started constructing. By 2013-14 the first reactor gone critical, then subsequently we have made. So, 2 into 1000 megawatts each, already it is producing. Now, Russia has agreed to construct 2 more, 2 into 1200. So, 2200 megawatts. So, it will become 4200 megawatt complex once the second round construction is over. So, 2 more under construction. So, they are known as light water reactors. Then there is a proposed reactor European pressurized reactor EPRs. It is a proposed reactor, European pressurized reactor. This is by a French company called Areva. Areva is one of the largest multinational nuclear companies in the world, multinational companies in the world, Areva. It is a French company. And these reactors are, it is supposed to be, now it is only proposed, okay, I am repeating it. It is again pressurized, but light water is a modern design. They are 1650 megawatts each, the largest till now, okay, these are the largest. And the proposal is to construct 6 of them, 1650 into 6. 9900 megawatts. If it materializes, it will be the largest nuclear fuel or a complex in the energy complex in the world, nuclear reactor complex in the world. It is supposed to come up at Jaitapur in Maharashtra. Supposed to come up at Jaitapur in Maharashtra. So, if it materializes, it will become the largest. Again, uranium the fuel, SEU or LEU the slightly enriched or low enriched uranium the fuel. Light water, but of course, it is pressurized, that is why it is European pressurized reactor. Light water means normal water, the coolant. But there are a lot of problems in this, in the sense because of the land acquisition problems and this and that. So, all these things started after the Indo-US nuclear deal, but no major progress in this European pressurized. But otherwise, this is one of the most modern reactors in the world. If it comes, it would have been a major boost for India, but till now nothing much has happened. And we are also developing another one, again proposed, that is advanced heavy water reactors. This is a 300 megawatt reactor developed by BARC. Here we will be using uranium thorium oxide as fuel, which we get from the fast breeder reactor. So, it is only in the development stage. only in the development stage. Okay. So, these are some of the reactors, and let us talk about the proposed locations we are talking. So, what is the present capacity? So, let us look at the present capacity. Okay. The present capacity is only around 6,900 megawatts. Okay, all the reactors put together, we are only, see, in 1984, I think we kept a target of 10,000 megawatts by 2000, and we ended up in 2,850 megawatts. So, by 2000 we kept a target of 20,000 megawatts by 2020. So, we have crossed 2020 and we ended up with around 6,900 megawatts. So, we are far behind our target. So, now we are planning to construct a couple many more under construction in Kakrapar, two into 700 megawatt pressurized heavy water reactors under construction. These are all under construction. Then in Rawatbhatta again 2 into 3 and 4, that is, I said 2,200 at that time, but 3 and 4 is 1,000, this 5 and 6. In fact, ultimately we will have 2 into 1,000 megawatts more, another 2,000, then another 2 of this, so this 6,200 megawatts finally, but the second 2 are under construction. So, it will become 4 of 1,000 megawatts each. Okay. So, Kodamkulam 3 and 4, 2 into 1,000 megawatts light water reactors under construction. Then Kalpakam pressurized heavy water reactor, the prototype Kalpakam prototype fast breeder reactor 500 megawatts, and we are also constructing in Haryana a place called Gorakhpur. Two into 700 megawatt pressurized heavy water reactors. So, questions can be the location also. The question can be the difference between pressurized heavy water reactor and fast breeder reactor, or different types of reactors in India, different research reactors in India. So, anything can be a question. Okay. In preliminary, more questions are possible, because that is why I am giving you all this data. Okay. And we are also planning, actually just one more thing, let me just tell you, this Kalpakam one, the pressurized the prototype fast breeder reactor, this is constructed by a company, again a public sector unit called Bhavini. Okay, it is constructed by a company called Bhavini, BHAVINI. It is called Bharatiya Nabhikya Vidyut Nigam Limited. Okay. Bharatiya Nabhikya means nuclear Vidyut Nigam. Otherwise, all other reactors are constructed by Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited. Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited. So, we are planning, but very slow. Whatever targets we are keeping, we are nowhere. So, these are the ones which are under construction. The rest are supposed to be, is to start. There are many more, but nothing has happened till now. No concrete proposal. So, that is why I am not telling much about that. Even fast breeder reactors, after the completion of the first one, we may go for a second one. But again, it may be 600 megawatts each, but right now no clarity. It may be in Kalpakam. Okay, it will be in Kalpakam, the second one also, but no immediate conclusion we can say, or other things are not moving. So, these are some of the reactors. Okay. So, we are far behind the target, that is the point you should know. We talked about by 2020 around 20,000 megawatts of nuclear energy, but now we are at around 6,900 only, much less than what we wanted to produce. So, that is the situation as far as the nuclear energy production is concerned. Now, I would like to talk about India's nuclear energy policy. And also I will talk about the nuclear weapon policy. What are the factors affecting location of power reactor? Not many, but that is mainly water availability should be there, it should be having less population in the surrounding vicinity. These are some of the conditions we normally keep, but otherwise not much. Okay. No major factors we can talk about. It should be earthquake and all seismic, it may not be, it should not be in a very active earthquake zone, we may consider that, otherwise not much different. Okay. So, nuclear energy policy of India, that is very important for us, even though we should understand that this nuclear energy policy was started, or rather this policy was there before Indo-US nuclear deal. Okay. So, naturally the conditions were different. The conditions were different, and at that time we did not sign NPT. So, the nuclear supplier group was there, India did not sign NPT. Then nuclear supplier group was created by the US in 1975 to deny India from any nuclear technology, because we have not joined NPT. So, we were not in a position to get nuclear fuel from outside. So, India, the problem in India is India has very little uranium reserves. India has very little uranium reserves. We hardly have any deposits in India. That is quite, the geography is such that we do not have uranium. We can't help, there is no uranium in India. So, very little uranium reserves in India, but we have plenty of thorium. But thorium cannot be directly used. But thorium cannot be directly used. So, the Indo-US, the nuclear energy policy of India is linked to two things. One is, it is before, please do not forget, it is before Indo-US nuclear deal. So, when India did not sign NPT and India was very little uranium reserves in India, we cannot deal with them with any foreign country because of the NSG regulations and NPT regulations. but we have plenty of thorium. So, in this background, because of this particular circumstance, this policy is made. Okay. So, now we have 3 stages in the nuclear energy policy. So, first stage, in the first stage, India wants to produce or a maximum of 250 megawatt capacity pressurized heavy water reactors, because that is what we could learn from the Canadian design which they started in the Rawat Bhatta. So, we got idea from Canadian design. Uranium the fuel, D2O the coolant, and from this uranium fuel we expected, or rather we wanted to extract from the spent fuel, from this spent fuel, because we do not have uranium in our soil, uranium plutonium carbide to be extracted, and based on this idea we have set up, I already said, at Rawat Bhatta, at Kalpakam, at Narora, at Kakrapara, at Kaiga, and also now even at Tarapur, that is 540 megawatt. All are in the first stage. First stage. So, what are the specialities? Please see. 250 megawatt capacity maximum, but we are considering 220 megawatt, the maximum is 250. Pressurized heavy water reactors, uranium the fuel, natural uranium I am writing because we are extracting from nature and then modifying a bit, but we call it as natural uranium. Heavy water cooled, heavy water as the coolant. From the spent fuel, we will have uranium plutonium carbide, which can be used subsequently, that is why I am just marking it. In many places we set up Rawat Bhatta, Kalpakam, Narora, Kakrapara, Kaiga, Tarapur, all these places we have set up. So, that is the first stage. Now, coming to the second stage of the nuclear power policy. In the second stage, we are planning to have 500 megawatt plants. Fast breeder reactors. The fuel will be uranium plutonium carbide from the first stage. Sodium cooled. And since the fast breeder reactor, the spent fuel will be there, please do not forget. We are keeping thorium. So, uranium 233 and uranium thorium oxide carbide etc. will be the from the spent fuel. Thorium is kept, uranium 233, uranium thorium oxide, uranium thorium carbide etc. will be produced. The first reactor at Kalpakam but long way to go. So, we are still in the construction stage. I hope you can understand what I am saying. That is the second stage. So, we will be producing, we will be using the spent fuel of the first stage to run the second stage, and there we are producing more fuel. We are producing more fuel in the form of uranium 233 and uranium thorium oxide. Now, in the third stage, there are two proposals. A, advanced heavy water reactors, 300 megawatt capacity, and the fuel will be uranium thorium oxide. It is only in the heavy water or heavy water cooled, because whatever uranium thorium oxide is produced, we want to use it. So, design stage, but the B proposal is this uranium 233 So, we will be having 1000 megawatt fast breeder reactors, uranium 233 fuel, sodium cooled, plus we will keep more thorium inside, that will produce more uranium 233. So, we would like to have 1000 megawatt fast breeder reactors, which the fuel is uranium 233, the fuel is uranium 233, and it will make more fuel, that is uranium 233 again. So, that a thorium cycle plant, meaning the fuel is from uranium 233, sorry, the fuel is from thorium, and the thorium will be more converted more, it will convert and create more fuel. So, a thorium cycle plant in the third stage, fully thorium cycle. I hope you are able to understand. If you are not able to make out, please ask a question if you think, if you are not able to make it. Otherwise, it is simple. These are the three stages we are talking. First stage we have already implemented. Second stage, the first reactor under construction, maybe any time it will happen. Third stage, a couple of decades away. And I said we have this kind of a policy because of the peculiar situation in India. What is the peculiar situation in India? That is, we do not have uranium, but we have plenty of thorium, and then we did not sign NPT. So, we were kept outside the nuclear club. So, we had to make a special policy like this, because since we do not have uranium, we cannot import also. So, we need to look for alternate sources, that is why we were more concerned about the thorium. So, that is how the Indian nuclear policy is revolving, but now let me just add, after Indo-US nuclear deal, we are able to purchase fuel from outside. We are able to purchase uranium from outside. We already signed agreements with Russia, France, Kazakhstan, then Canada, now Uzbekistan, even Australia, then Mongolia, Namibia, even Argentina, South Korea. We have signed nuclear agreements with even Japan for that matter. US of course. So, from the top 5 countries we are already importing, and now last year we signed with Uzbekistan also. So, at least from these 5 countries we are importing uranium. With other 5 countries like Australia, Mongolia and all, they have plenty of uranium. Namibia, one of the best quality uranium in the world. Argentina, South Korea, with all of them we have signed agreements. So, there is no shortage of uranium right now in India. Only thing is that whatever we import from them, it should be under the IAEA. Whatever we import, it is under IAEA safeguards. So, because of our ability to, because of the Indo-US nuclear deal, because of our new position, new found position in the world order, after we signed the Indo-US nuclear deal, the significance of the India's nuclear energy policy has shifted or changed. It is less, because now after Indo-US nuclear, that is what I am critically saying. After the Indo-US nuclear deal, we are able to purchase uranium from outside. So, the importance of the nuclear and the 3-stage energy policy has come down. The importance has come down. So, there can be a question, critically evaluate India's nuclear energy policy. Okay. At that time we should say that because of the Indo-US nuclear deal and the changes happened, the importance have come down. But of course, as many people say that thorium is the future fuel, because it is a clean energy. Of course, the nuclear waste management problem is always there, but otherwise thorium, the amount of thorium available in the world is more than the combined total energy available from coal, petroleum, even uranium, all put together it seems. So, great potential in the future. So, we cannot outrightly reject the need for a fast breeder reactor and all. So, let us think in that line. So, if you look at the next is the India's nuclear weapon policy, that is different. Yeah, in the Indo-US nuclear deal ended the nuclear apartheid against India, perfectly fine. So, India's nuclear weapon policy, this policy was first promulgated during the Vajpayee government's time, I think in around 2000 they came out with this policy. We conducted the nuclear test in 1998. So, by 2000 we talked about a nuclear weapon policy. So, 2-3 highlights of India's weapon policy is: number 1, we are saying it is a no first use policy. No first use, NFU. We will not use it as a first case. And we are also claiming, that means even if it is against China, even if against Pakistan, we will not use. So, no other country in this world has a no first use policy, only India has. See, normally in the nuclear technology the belief is if you wait and whoever uses that weapon first will win the war. Okay. Whoever uses the weapon will win the war. Is there any target year for each stage of nuclear deal? No, no, I mean there is no target year. We wanted target year to both tha, but forget about that. But now because of the delay in the technology and the delay in manufacturing these reactors, we cannot talk much about the targets right now. Anyway, so then second is we believe in nuclear deterrence. Okay. Our policy is have enough weapons, do not use it. Because of the presence of our weapons, the enemy should think twice before attacking us. The enemy should think twice before attacking us. That is the deterrence policy we are talking, the nuclear deterrence we are talking. No first use, and that means we do not believe in a weapon a race. Okay. We do not believe in arms race. Deterrence means we will have a minimum weapons, minimum credible deterrence. That is what we say, minimum weapons, but it should be credible and it should deter our enemy from attacking us. So, we do not believe in no nuclear arms race, no nuclear arms race. So, see, these are some of the highlights of it. Now, in the process, but again according to many critics, this is a good idea during peacetime. Okay, this policy is good during peacetime, but during war, in a war like scenario, if you wait for your enemy to attack you, you may be at a disadvantage. Okay. So, anyway, so whenever we talk about nuclear energy, nuclear weapon policy, two things are very important for us. One is the no first use policy, second is nuclear minimum credible deterrence. These are the two very important points you should remember, and there are a lot of operational difficulty in doing this. Okay, because if you are waiting for your enemy to attack first, then you attack. Suppose you know that Pakistan is about to attack you, and if you say I will not attack Pakistan till they attack us, so it will be foolish from our part. Anyway, so let us not get into the details of that. So, that is how this whole thing has come up. Now, let me talk about the radioactive waste management. Okay, a couple of points let me just add. Yeah, I mean, can't we change the nuclear weapon policy during the war? Yeah, I think we will have to do that. That is the only way we can do. But if you try to enforce the policy, it will be disastrous. So, maybe during the war we will change the policy. That is the only way we can do, and I do not think there is any other option. So, this is a good posturing, but difficult to implement. So, for peacetime, or we can when we say we have a policy no first use, that is a tall order, it is a big posturing. So, it can improve your credentials in the market. Okay. Some youngsters these days, suppose somebody says na main kisi pyar vyar nahi karta hai. So, it may increase the credentials in the market, but reality may be different. अगर सही में कोई मिल गया तो शायद we may, okay, but till then you may say no, 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 I have a policy AO, so you can say. So, why? Because you did not get anybody. So, similarly, this nuclear no first use or no first use is a big statement, but in reality it may not be practical anyway. So, that is what we can. So, waste management is very important, because whatever the reaction is there in a reactor, after the fuel burns, what is left behind in the reactor, we call it as a spent fuel. And I already said that in a spent fuel, there are many useful items in spent fuel. No arms race, I said, RACE, not point. No arms race, okay, not arms point. I said no arms race. Okay. So, many useful items are there, and then we conduct reprocessing. Reprocessing of the fuel, spent fuel, so that we can take out the useful items, like as I said already, plutonium 239, 240, mixed oxides, uranium, plutonium carbide, etc. Then whatever is left behind. Okay. So, then we have a lot of nuclear radioactive waste. Lot of radioactive waste, right from the mining, power generation, in there can be in defense, that means in weapons, there can be in medicine, the nuclear medicine. So, lot of radioactive waste can be generated. So, and this radioactive waste can be in the form of gas, liquid, or in solid form. And the levels of radioactivity also will vary. Some of them may be very low radioactive waste, there may be medium radioactive waste, there may be high level waste, and levels of radioactivity also varies. And high level waste and all, it may take thousands of years. It may continue to irradiate, continue to radiate even for thousands of years. Okay. So, in the high level waste, which are containing almost 99% of radioactivity in the entire fuel cycle. So, we may have classified into one called high level waste. And it is from the core of the nuclear reactor. Core of the nuclear reactor, it may be uranium, plutonium, during fission, whatever be there, the various compounds, and it may have very long life. Some of them may be even up to 1 lakh year, 2 lakh years, it can continue it can continue to be radioactive and it can be very dangerous. Okay. So, first it has to be immobilized. Immobilized. Normally, these high level wastes are immobilized in borosilicate glasses. Basically, it should not spread around. It may be a bit liquidy, that high level waste, solid, liquid, whatever it is, it should not move around. It should be immobilized.